Someone has to realize the loss, right? Domestic debt to GDP, close to 130%, global debt to GDP, well over 300%. And so there's a loss that has to be realized. I do think that we're in the early innings of a bull run, and there are many multiples to be made in 2025. I expect a weaker dollar and further debasement in assets.
That you've forecasted 500 to 700K for Bitcoin sometime between 2025 and early 26?
Yeah.
Is that an accurate
It's actually, yes, it was 250 to $1 million, but I'll take 500 to 700. I'll take that.
Okay. Why? Take us through why.
Jack Mallers begins by emphasizing his forecast that Bitcoin could reach an astonishing $500,000 to $700,000 in value within the next few years. While this range may sound ambitious, Mallers explains that it stems from a confluence of factors, primarily rooted in the unsustainable fiscal situation faced by the global economy. Governments worldwide are grappling with unprecedented debt levels, domestic debt to GDP ratios nearing 130% in the U.S., and global debt to GDP exceeding 300%. Mallers highlights a simple but unavoidable truth: someone must bear the losses from this mountain of debt. In his view, governments are unlikely to penalize bondholders significantly, meaning the burden will likely fall on currencies through further debasement.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
I think we're going to see one of the greatest asset bubbles in human history. I think the fiscal situation is a problem. And, I used to do media appearances and say that, and now I get the benefit of the Fed also thinks the fiscal situation is a problem. Our new administration thinks it's a problem. Every economist on CNBC thinks it's a problem. It's officially alert, danger, this can't last. Jamie Dimon, this is the first time I've agreed with Jamie Dimon on pretty much anything. So I think the problem is we have too much debt. And the way I would say it is that someone has to realize the loss, right? Domestic debt to GDP, close to 130%, global debt to GDP, well over 300%. And so there's a loss that has to be realized. And the question is, where are we going to realize that loss? Are we going to render all bondholders poor? Probably not. My expectation is further currency debasement. My expectation is further asset inflation. And my expectation is Bitcoin will continue to be the best performer because it's the scarcest and the hardest to make more of. In fact, it's the only thing you can't make any more of it. So the 250 to $1 million range it's a crazy buffer for me to say out loud. But the reality is, if America comes out and buys 4 million Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin ticks $1 million easily. If not, and we get interesting fiscal policy from this administration, well, then 250 seems decently reasonable. By the way, to the viewers, this isn't the new normal. The way this market operates is that it enters violent price discovery and then it falls. So I do expect a drop. I'm talking about what's the new all-time high, where will it tick? But I do think that we're in the early innings of a bull run, and there are many multiples to be made in 2025. I expect a weaker dollar and further debasement in assets. I think we will continue to see currency debasement, but I think Bitcoin is demonetizing other forms of wealth. So on the first one, are we in a dollar crisis that Bitcoin's at $100,000 today? I don't know. I went to Whole Foods yesterday and got a couple ribeyes. The dollar was fine. The store wasn't on fire. I mean, clearly there's civil unrest. Clearly people don't like the level of inflation they've been forced to live through. But is the dollar collapsing? No. Do I think the dollar's going anywhere anytime soon? No. But historically, assets have been inflating. So I think we will continue to see currency debasement. On the Bitcoin demonetizing other assets and where it's winning value from what I would consider competitors, the reality is, people have been looking to store their wealth somehow, some way, if they can't in dollars. And that's not a controversial opinion. Nobody owns strictly dollars. If you can afford to, you own real estate portfolio, you own a stock portfolio, you own gold, you own something else that can appreciate in value over time. And so people have had to monetize real estate, equities, all these other things that aren't actually money in the first place. And so my expectation is that Bitcoin will continue to win over the demonetization of those assets. So instead of owning 10 homes where you only consume one, you own one home and the 9 you sell and you buy Bitcoin, because Bitcoin performs better as a money and performs better as a store of value and performs better in percentage terms and in real terms against the dollar or whatever your unit of measurement is. So I think it's a combination of both. And I think this is a good opportunity to walk the users through, what is money and its intended purpose in a marketplace. So money is a market good, just like anything else, just like a cheeseburger or a car or a plane. But the difference is I acquire a cheeseburger to consume it and eat it. I acquire a car to consume it and move me on the road. I acquire a plane to consume it and fly me somewhere. I acquire money uniquely not to consume it. It's the one market good that I don't consume. I'm acquiring the money to save and exchange it later for the things I need. And so money performs that job as a technology. So when people say money is whatever we think it should be, like what we can make water bottles money if we want to, it's like, no, but you can't make a water bottle an airplane if you want to. If you get on a water bottle and jump off your roof, you're going to get injured. It's a technology just like all other technologies. It has a job to do in the market. And when you understand that job, you realize you don't have to store your wealth in real estate or in equities. The job is to store and save the wealth you've created and then somehow exchange it for what you need in the future. And Bitcoin fundamentally is better at that job, and it is the technology purpose-built to fill that role within the marketplace than everything else. My house was built for someone to live in it, not for me to be able to save and exchange later. Equities was built to run a company, not to be a money, right? So I think people will sell the assets that they're using as money because of the unfortunate situation of a devaluing currency and convert it into Bitcoin, which Satoshi built to solve that problem of a market good that you don't consume and you save it and use it for future exchange.
Mallers contextualizes Bitcoin within the broader macroeconomic landscape. As global debt balloons, nations and individuals are increasingly searching for avenues of growth and productivity. Bitcoin, with its average annualized return of 63% over the past decade, offers an unparalleled growth opportunity. For governments, Bitcoin represents a chance to participate in the world's fastest-growing asset class. For individuals, it serves as a hedge against economic uncertainty, providing a reliable means to store value and protect against systemic risks.
Listen, I think thinking you're late to Bitcoin is a failure of your ego. I really do, because it's late to who? Mm-hmm. And you realize, oh, you're comparing yourself to Anthony. You're comparing yourself to your friend, to your colleague, to this person you don't know on the internet. And to me, that's a failure of your ego. That's vulnerable insecurities getting the best of your best interests. The reality is, economic decisions are made at the margin. Every single day we wake up and we contribute value to this world. Our alarm goes off and it might be cold, we might be tired, commute might be long, but we get up and we do it anyway. And we make the world a better place through whatever our contributions are. Janitor, podcast host, investor, we contribute to those around us. We got to store that value somewhere for ourselves, for our future, for our family. And you have to make that decision. And every single day, I make that decision, and that decision continues to be Bitcoin, no matter the price. The price doesn't invalidate the properties of the system, the fact that it's the scarcest, the fact that it's the best. And so thinking you're late, to me, is a failure of ego and making yourself so small that you can't act in your own best interest when compared to another shadow or another person. So I think you got to put your ego aside. And when you submit your ego and say, I'm not bigger than this thing. I don't need to be the main character. I don't need to be the best. I just need to be me and do what's in my interest. That's when I think you start buying a little bit of Bitcoin, and it's time in the market, not timing the market. So don't let your ego get the best of you. And to me, Bitcoin's continually the best place to put my time and energy, my effort, my labor. And I would suggest others take a look at the same. That you have an asset that on average over the last 10 years is 63% annualized return. So it's the fastest growing thing that any of us could have owned. I mean, it's accessible to everybody. So it is a life raft in that sense. And whether you're a country and you are in debt, listen, we talk about these metrics like debt to GDP. How much have you borrowed versus how much growth are you producing to pay that back? We're all looking for growth. And you could buy growth off the shelf. All 8 billion of us is a way to think about it as a government. If you're interested in growth, if you're interested in productivity, you could say, I'll take a burger, small fry, a Coke Zero, and 63% year over year growth over the last decade. That's not a bad deal. That's not a bad lunch order. And so for the individual and the family, it's very similar and the same. You know, for El Salvador as well, these people don't have access to Google engineers. They don't have access to minds like Michael Saylor. They don't have access to consumer innovating minds like Jack Dorsey. But being a part of Bitcoin, they did. They were benefiting from the work of MIT professors, from Michael Saylor, from Google engineers, from Jack Dorsey, from the world's work on an open distributed network. So you're joining a global team of the smartest minds and the most powerful computing network in the world, and you get access to the best performing asset that's even outperforming guys like Ken Griffin. And that was the message, is that join this team. Network effects and economies of scale are going to take you. You actually need to humble yourself. This goes message to myself in the mirror. Humble yourself. You're not the main character. You're not going to advance this any more than the greater good. And so just be a part of it. Be a part of it. Realize it's bigger than you. And that's when you start to gain that benefit, is when you realize I was wrong about this thing. This thing is bigger than me. And all I need to do is subscribe to it and align myself with the fact that it's a system with equal rules and equal rights. And, you know, it was better to buy it when I heard about it, but the second best time is now. I think fundamentally Bitcoin is designed to be a superior asset for you to hold. We can spend hours on this podcast talking about how and why that is. I think simply put, it's because it's the hardest asset you can hold. And hard is in reference to how hard is it to make more of it? How scarce is this thing? And Bitcoin is the scarcest thing you can own, period. And what do I mean by that? Well, Anthony, if everyone listening to this wants an iPhone, Apple can increase the supply of iPhones and get them one. If everyone in the world wants a McDonald's cheeseburger, McDonald's is going to find a way to get them a cheeseburger. Equivalently, if the price of gold goes up 10x and everyone is in demand for gold, Elon told us he's going to go to some other planet and get more. So the idea in financial markets is, with more demand, you will find more supply. You always will. Now, Bitcoin is the only thing you can own where that's not true. With more demand, we cannot find more supply. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you are, we can't make any more. And so it's for that reason that more demand has to find a higher price, because the more supply that's being demanded is coming from the market. It's coming from the existing holders. So if you want more Bitcoin, you got to bid it to a higher price. And it's the technology and the innovation and Satoshi Nakamoto's breakthrough that's built such a scarce thing. But fundamentally, why you would hold it versus other things is because it is harder, because it is scarcer, and because it will outperform and find a higher price for those fundamental reasons.
Mallers concludes with a call for humility. He urges individuals to recognize that Bitcoin is bigger than any one person or investor. By aligning with Bitcoin's principles of fairness, transparency, and decentralization, one can participate in a global movement that transcends individual interests. He also reminds viewers that the best time to invest in Bitcoin was when they first heard about it, but the second best time is now. The opportunity to join this revolutionary financial system remains open to all, regardless of when they start.
Please like and subscribe my channel.